you contemplate any changes, or is it still too early?
Regarding changes, hell yeah, we got to make some changes, man. That was an ugly product we put out there today, and so we're not going to do the same things and hope for a different outcome. What those changes are, man, we'll put together a plan in preparation.
Oh yeah, Mike, you better believe that changes need to be made with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're absolutely right. And you know what? It starts with you. Good Monday morning, everybody. This is Mac, and I am back with another video. My Monday morning, as I'm bringing this back for this year officially now, because I really don't know if you can call anything else an overreaction. Following up with yesterday's 30-6 absolutely humiliating, piss-poor loss in Houston. And forgive me if I'm a little bit soft-spoken in this one. I'm a little congested. But do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, follow on Instagram, link in the box below. You know, this guy's been the head coach of the Steelers for 17 years now. And this is now just our second loss, okay? But here's the thing. It's our second loss of the season, and in both of the losses, the Steelers allowed 30 points and have lost by over 20 points, as I said in yesterday's post-game reaction. Getting blown out by a team like the 49ers, sure, okay, I get it. The 49ers are a great team. Previous years, you get stomped all over by the Patriots. You get blown out by Philly. You get blown out by Buffalo. Those are all great teams, and those are all Super Bowl contenders. Kansas City, too. Lost to the Chiefs twice in less than a month a couple years ago. Would I have liked to see more competitiveness from this team? Absolutely. I think anyone would have. But now, yesterday, you run into the Houston Texans, who I'm not taking anything away from them, okay? They played a great game yesterday. But this is a rebuilding team. A team that, in my opinion, is a draft or two away from really making some noise in the AFC. They're rebuilding. But yesterday, the Texans looked like the 1984 49ers against us yesterday. Well, I mean, the Steelers were the only team to beat the 49ers in 84, but you get the point. The Texans looked like an unbeatable machine against just this, whatever you want to call, trash heap that took the field yesterday, and it starts with our spineless head coach. Okay? Because when people were ripping Tomlin to shreds, and when people were saying that, that they want him fired, and you typers know who you are. I don't need to mention any names. I defended Tomlin. Because I was like, you know what? Now he has his own team. It's a young team that is trying to get the feel for themselves. They're looking to trend upwards. They need some more development. And last year, I'm not in love with the 9-8 records. But you know what? Last year, the Steelers had no business being competitive at all last year. And Tomlin still was able to keep the Steelers competitive until the final week of the season. I think he's the head coach moving forward. This year, you have only reinforced previous thoughts that I've had about Tomlin for years. And I'm talking about years. There is no discipline, no accountability, no passion, no nothing. If anything, Terry Bradshaw hit the nail on the head about Mike Tomlin all the way back in 2016 when we were getting ready to play the Patriots in the AFC Championship, which, by the way, the 2016 season still remains the last time that the Steelers won a playoff game under Mike Tomlin. What did Terry Bradshaw say? Mike Tomlin's a cheerleader. Well, guess what? He may have been blunt, he may have been harsh, but he's absolutely right. Tomlin, you are not a head coach. You are a cheerleader. You are a BFF. You're Clint Hurdle. That's what you are. Because if you had any balls whatsoever, Tomlin, you would look at your BFF, Matt Canada, that bald-headed dingus up in the press booth who calls the same offense every single day, and you'd say to him, you know what, pal? Thank you for getting my kid to college, but your offense is trash. And I don't want you on my coaching staff anymore. Because we all know that's the whole reason that Matt Canada got promoted to offensive coordinator. And with Tomlin being the bleeping head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, with all the authority and all the power that this guy has, you'd think at some point he would at least have a sit down with Canada and say that this offense is getting nowhere. But no, that's Mike Tomlin. And you know, Canada even admitted to incompetence with sideline reporters in yesterday's game, I believe, when he was asked about the offense. And you want to know what this motherfucker said? He said that this offense is not built to come back from lengthy deficits. Oh, okay, Matt. No shit. So you're the offensive coordinator for the Steelers, and you're pretty much just admitting that, hey, this team is trash. This offense is garbage. My offensive play calling is garbage. You're pretty much just saying that. How low the Pittsburgh Steelers have fallen, man. How low we have fallen. And this is why I said in yesterday's postgame, this franchise will not win another Super Bowl as long as Mike Tomlin is the head coach. We just will not get there with Mike Tomlin, and especially Matt Canada. Because how often do we see this team get blown out by elite teams? Like I said before, San Francisco, Kansas City, Philadelphia, Buffalo, and not even elite teams. Rebuilding to very good to above average teams. Like Cincinnati a couple years ago. You know, I'm trying to think of some from recent years. You get the point. Cincinnati, back in 2017, Jacksonville, yesterday, Houston. The first quarter against the Browns in the playoffs from a couple years ago. How often do you see this team get blown out? Way too often. This is already our second loss this season by over 20 points. Like I said. Because is the goal not to win the Super Bowl? Oh, because Mike Tomlin's goal is to not have a losing season. I'm sorry, buddy, but that ain't good enough over here. That don't fly with the fan base. It's one thing if you are a franchise like the Lions, or if you're the Jaguars, or if you're the Bengals, or if you're the Browns, or if you're the Bills, or if you're the Jets. You get it. It's one thing if you're a franchise that has never won a Super Bowl or has never been to a Super Bowl, and you want Tomlin as your head coach to guide you to have consistent winning seasons. But when you are a blue-collar franchise and a successful one and an established one like the Steelers, like the Patriots, the Packers, the Cowboys, the 49ers, the Giants, the Raiders, I'll even throw there. Washington, I'll even throw in there. That is not your standard with the fan base to just settle for 9-8. Okay? Do you think that we extended Alex Highsmith in the offseason to go 9-8? Do you think we paid TJ Watt all that money to go 9-8? You think we took Kenny Pickett in the first round of the draft to go 9-8? You think that we fixed up the offensive line on paper, I should say, to go 9-8? You think that we paid you think that we made Minkah Fitzpatrick the highest paid defensive back in league history to go 9-8? That ain't why you do all that stuff. You don't make all those transactions in the offseason and bring in a new GM to go 9-8 and barely miss or barely make the playoffs and get KO'd in the wild card. You make all them moves to bring Vince Lombardi trophy number 7 back to Pittsburgh. But Tomlin has just been throwing in the towel and saying, you know what, I'm content with not having a losing season because I'm not going to get fired. And that's the problem. Starts with Art Rooney. Starts with Artie II. Because there is no way a franchise can be this complacent, this stubborn, and this pig-headed for this long unless it's ownership. As I keep saying, a team in any sport will always take on the character of their head coach. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are bullied. They're softer than melted butter. They're softer than a rose. They're softer than baby shit. They get absolutely demolished by elite teams. They get curb stomped by teams that are on the uprise because Mike Tomlin gets bullied. That's all he is. All talk and no action. And that's why I've given up on Mike Tomlin. That's why I am officially saying I'm done with Tomlin. 17 years with this guy being the head coach, and this guy has shown no improvement at all. This was his chance to wipe the narrative clean of the biggest narrative that everybody throws at this guy. And it's only being proved right week in and week out that Mike Tomlin only won the Super Bowl in his second season with Bill Cowher's team. Guess what? That's 100% true. And I mean that with every fiber of my being. Because who was on the roster with that 08 team? Big Ben was your quarterback. You had Willie Parker in the backfield. You had Bill Cowher's offensive line as far as I'm concerned. You still had Hines Ward. You still had Heath Miller at tight end. You had Bill Cowher's defense with James Harrison and Brett Kiesel and Paul Malu. I'd say probably the only player with Tomlin from that defense was maybe Lamar Woodley. But you had Ike Taylor. You had Ryan Clark. You had Casey Hampton. You had James Ferrier. You know what all those players have in common? They were all Bill Cowher's players. And I'm going to tell you guys the difference right now between Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin. And it's not the difference that you guys are thinking about because we all know what you're thinking, okay? Bill Cowher, he took over an organization who had made the playoffs only 4 times since the Steelers won the Super Bowl in January of 1980 and only won 2 playoff games. When Chuck Noll left in the early 90s, I believe 1991, Chuck Noll left Bill Cowher a core nucleus of players, and he infused it on his own and made the playoffs in 6 straight years and played in 3 AFC championships and a Super Bowl. In short, Bill Cowher took over a burnout Steeler team with a bunch of nobodies and made them a powerhouse. Then after the 97 season, the Steelers fell off and we had to enter a rebuilding phase. And we ended up 7-9. And then we continued to rebuild into 1999 and 2000, going 6-10 and 9-7 with a new GM coming in 2000, a.k.a. Kevin Colbert. And we showed some life going 9-7. 2001 to 2005, made the playoffs 4 out of 5 years, with 2003 being the outlier. 3 AFC championships, and Bill Cowher finally won his Super Bowl in 2005. Then after 2006, Cowher stepped down after an 8-8 season, which is acceptable to most Steeler fans, but not acceptable to Bill Cowher. So what's that tell you right there? Bill Cowher knew that his time was up after a Super Bowl hangover season in 2006, and the Steelers went 8-8 and missed the playoffs. And Cowher's like, you know what? My time as head coach is up. It's time to let somebody take over. Enter Mike Tomlin in 2007. Made the playoffs 3 out of his first 4 seasons and lost the Super Bowl, and made the Super Bowl and won it in 2008, like I said, with Cowher's players. Do you know that 18 out of 22 players, or the starters in Super Bowl 43, were either starters on the team before 2007, or they were already there in 2005? It was mostly Cowher's players that fused with minimal players with Tomlin. And then by 2010, Cowher's players who started in Super Bowl 45 was down to 10 of 22, and we lost to Green Bay. And here's where the fun begins. 2011 to last year, 3 playoff wins, 1 AFC championship. And it should only be 2 playoff wins, because you know as well as I do that the Bengals lost that wild card game more than we won it. So you want the summary? Here it is. Cowher took over a bad football team and turned them to a powerhouse for the course of his first 6 seasons of a head coach. The team had to go through a quick rebuilding phase, completed the 53-man roster, who won the Super Bowl in 2005. Tomlin took over a Super Bowl winning team 1 year removed from a championship and rode the coattails to a Super Bowl and mixed his players with Cowher's 10, and he kept on losing. And just, to put a bow on it, it's not just his record as a head coach. It's him as a head coach as well. This team lacks basic fundamentals. They have no discipline. They lack leadership. They lack preparedness, especially against elite teams. His management is absolutely horrible. His timeouts are absolutely horrible. His challenges are absolutely horrible. He has no accountability for bad play. And I could go on and on and on and on. But at the same time, he has no pressure to himself, no respect for himself, no respect for his players whatsoever. He just goes in the press conference every single week and says the stuff that Steeler fans want to hear. He is a public speaker. He is a puppet. It's sad when Cowher knows that his time as a head coach is up and he retires after an 8-8 season. So maybe this is my last hope with Tomlin. Maybe if we don't have a winning record this year, maybe Tomlin will realize, hey, I can't win with these guys. It's time to move on and do what Bill Cowher did, or even Chuck Noll did 30 years ago, and leave this team to someone else. But we all know that's not going to happen. Even though this dude should absolutely be on the hot seat. And that's the difference between Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin. Sure, Cowher's had losing seasons, and Tomlin's never had one. But Cowher laid down the blueprint and perfected what Chuck Noll's standard was set in Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin has no clue on how to build off of that. And that's why I laugh when I say that people would love to have Mike Tomlin as their head coach. No, the fuck you wouldn't. If you want a head coach that's going to consistently underachieve and get his doors blown off by elite competition and not know when enough is enough and have terrible clock management and terrible challenges, be my guest. But over here in Steeler Nation, sorry, 9-8 ain't good enough. And that's why I've lost all hope with Mike Tomlin. That's why I am officially saying I'm done with him. And that's why I'm saying this team will not win a Super Bowl, possibly not even another playoff game, for as long as this clown is the head coach and he will keep his BFF as offensive coordinator. In short, the Steelers are fucked. And that's all I got to say. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, even though I have a pretty good clue of what the common theme is going to be. This is Mac checking on out for the day. Have a good one, everybody.